the American dream. To his last breath, he'll always be a soldier.
Heard on great radio stations all across America. It's the National Defense with Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry.
The National Defense is made possible by Ford, Go Further, by the Home Depot, More Saving, More Doing, by VSP. For more information on how VSP can help you and your corrective vision needs, visit VSP.com. By Morgan Stanley. Discover how they can help you achieve your long-term financial goals at morganstanley.com. By the Wounded Warrior Project, serving those who've sacrificed for over 15 years. Online at woundedwarriorproject.org. By WD-40 Company. Wherever there's a job to be done, WD-40 brand offers solutions to help you live life hands-on. By Farmers Insurance. We know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com. And by Gorilla Glue, makers of Gorilla Tape, for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
Hey, this is the National Defense. It's Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry. And Jerry, as always, our dedication.
Hey, this show's for you, the men and women serving in our military. It's for the millions of veterans out there, and it's for all their families. We're here for you. We love you. God bless you.
And every time we talk to somebody at Wounded Warrior, it's always something very fascinating and something different they're doing for veterans. And Melanie Mousseau is here with us, the metrics director for Wounded Warrior Project. Melanie, first of all, welcome in. And what is a metrics director?
Thanks so much for having me today, Randy. A metrics director, I actually wear a couple of different hats. The first is that I help oversee all of the evaluation of our programs and services, so making sure that the direct programs and services that we provide to warriors and their family members are having the impact that they're supposed to be having. And then the second hat that I wear is with overseeing the annual survey that we deploy to all of those that are registered with us so we can get a pulse on how warriors are doing and what's important to them at each year.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And before we get into the survey, I want to ask you about some of your background. Now, you've been at Wounded Warrior for, 6 years? Coming up on 6 years?
Exactly, yes. It'll be 6 years at the beginning of the new year.
Well, let's talk about your job before you got to Wounded Warrior. That's pretty fascinating, too. Assistant Master Trainer with the Army's Comprehensive Soldier and Family Fitness Performance and Resilience Enhancement Program. That sounds like a big program.
It is a mouthful as well as an important program. So when I was with the program, I initially began working on the performance enhancement side, which is grounded in performance and sports psychology, working with both active duty and those warriors that were currently within the WTUs and helping them use the principles of sports psychology with elite, which is what elite athletes use to perform better, and helping them with missions that they were encountering, as well as with the transition for those that were injured, ill, or wounded. And that's really where I fell in love with working with wounded warriors.
Yeah, and that's interesting. You mentioned that association with athletes and with the military. We have just partnered with the NFL, and we're showcasing some of these the players that you don't hear about, the ones that are doing everything right and doing a lot for their communities. And it's amazing how similar those routines are in terms of athletics and the military, right?
Absolutely. There's a lot of overlap, and really being at your best when it matters to both is something that is important in both of those professions. That's a
good point. Well, let's get to this Wounded Warrior Project 2018 Annual Warrior Survey. How many respondents are we talking about there?
This year, we had over 33,000 respondents complete the survey this year. Yeah, pretty amazing. And this is the ninth year that we've done the survey. So over those years, we've accumulated over 167,000 responses.
That's great, because now you got a baseline and you can look year to year, right?
Absolutely. So not only are we looking at it year to year to see any individual changes that are happening, but we're also starting to look at, are we seeing any big jumps or trends looking at 5-year chunks now that we've got a significant amount of data under our belt.
Oh, that's great. So let's kind of break it down section by section here. Unemployment and homelessness. What did you find in those categories?
Sure. Well, we certainly see that homelessness is still a pressing issue. This year we saw that approximately 6% of those that we serve were homeless or living in a homeless shelter over the last 24 months. So certainly a number that we want to continue to strive to bring down. But on the flip side, when we look at employment, we're seeing a positive trend, especially when we zoom out and look at the 5 years. Just 5 years ago in 2014, we were at a 20% overall unemployment rate for those that were non-active duty. And this year we're down to 12%. So that's certainly the right direction.
Yeah, and I think a lot of companies now are getting that, you know. I think that's a kind of a big statement because we have a lot of companies on a program that are really, it's not just lip service now, they're actually employing veterans and they're realizing that veterans make the best employees.
Absolutely. We are certainly seeing all those benefits of those warriors. Now, a caveat is that our unemployment rate's a little bit higher than still the general population and the general veteran population, but considering the subset of those that we serve, those that have been most affected by war, seeing that number come down and parallel the general population and the rate of decline is certainly a good news story in my book.
Yeah, and Melanie, as part of this survey, I'm looking at these demographics of the respondents. 6% active duty, 84% are male. Here's the one that jumps out at you. 45% have deployed 3 or more times. Mm-hmm. Wow, and 93% of those into combat areas. Man, that's it just makes you appreciate what they're doing.
Absolutely. So it's certainly a very special population, and they have certainly the experience, and we're making sure that we are here for them after they've finished their service to help them in that transition to their next mission.
So, Melanie, when you looked at this survey overall, what jumped out at you as a kind of a wow moment?
Well, there's a lot of things that have jumped out at us as far as things that are important, but we already touched on a few of them. First is that we've seen employment rates improve. One thing that goes hand in hand with the employment rates is education. We've seen that more warriors are getting their degrees. After this year, we've seen that more than a third of those that are registered with us have attained a bachelor's degree or higher. And of those that haven't attained that, 1 in 4 are in college working towards a bachelor's degree and higher. So that's fantastic. Wow. The PTSD number is still a large number. It is. We do see that more than 3/4 of those that we serve do suffer from PTSD, but we're also seeing that close to that number are seeking help and support for mental health concerns, with the majority of them choosing to use the VA as their number one choice for addressing mental health concerns. But then we see that more than half of warriors are actually leveraging each other, so reaching out to their peers to help them work through mental health with concerns. So it really underscores that importance of that bond and the camaraderie. Yeah, and a lot of the programs now are developing that aspect into their programs, which is so important. I want to ask you about the number here. 33% warriors had difficulty getting mental health care. What does that say, and how does that compare to the past? Yes, well, while that number feels like it may be high, and it's certainly not acceptable because it's still a barrier, and that's a third of individuals that needed care and didn't get it, so that's certainly a third too many. But one of the things that we're seeing is that number is on the decline. The biggest areas of challenge that warriors represent are scheduling difficulties. So they're not seeing the alignment between hours of availability with the VA and their own personal schedules and that alignment. So that's certainly one of the big challenges. We're talking to Melanie Mousseau here on the National Defense from Wounded Warrior Project. Yeah, this is really a comprehensive survey that you guys do. And how long has the survey been going on? This is the 9th year that we've done the survey. Okay. And, the results, the great thing about this also is that this is available to all your members. This is available to the general public, is it? Absolutely. This survey is available for anybody to download, and not only this year, but all the previous 8 years by that and before that. You can just go to annualwarriorsurvey.org and download any of the full reports and get a real feel for not only what are we seeing as trends this current year, but how things have changed year over year.
Now, how about the average age of the Warriors? I mean, obviously, yeah, that's increasing, right?
Absolutely. So, as one would expect, we were about 35 and a half 5 years ago, and we're now at 40 years of age. So kind of trucking along with the test of time there. So we're not seeing it get any younger, but we're also not seeing it get older at a higher rate. But one area as a subset of that, over a third of our Warriors 5 years ago were under 31 years of age. Now we're looking at only 17%. So certainly, while we're seeing the average age remain relatively stable based on what we would expect, we're seeing the younger guys and gals, that percentage is declining.
Wow, I love this. From 46% in 2014 to 60% in 2018 that the Warriors are homeowners.
Yes, that's another bright spot. And again, I think that lines up nicely with education and employment. But yeah, we are seeing more and more own their own home. How fantastic is that?
The other thing that is encouraging and that I really like to hear is this number of respondents, over 30,000. You know, it used to be like pulling teeth to get people to, number one, take a survey, but to talk about their military situation. And that's a great sign.
We are very fortunate. We have Warriors year over year. In fact, we have a very small but mighty group of over 100 Warriors who have taken the survey that very first year in 2014. And this year, 95% of those that took it that first year and have taken it every year following that took it this year. And that's pretty remarkable because it's a lengthy survey. We've got over 135 questions, and it takes about a half an hour. But what we find is that we have Warriors that this is a way to give back by informing us of what's important to them, what are their most pressing needs, because this is our way to hear their voice and make change and share that information with people that can also make change.
Hey, thank you so much for taking the time. And again, where can people find out more information about the survey?
Sure, you can download that at annualwarriorsurvey.org. And don't worry, there's not only the full report, but there's a nice executive summary and snapshot of all the key findings that you can find there as well.
That's cool. And so many, so this could be used in so many places too, which I love. And I'm going to be referring to this on the show. Melanie, do me a favor and have a great holiday.
Thank you, and same to you. I appreciate your time today.
We'll be right back on the National Defense right after this word from Farmers Insurance. When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Farmers Insurance has been sharing practical insurance knowledge for more than 89 years. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
Hi, this is Kelsey Grammer. When military service members head into battle, none are expected to face the enemy alone, but many return home and become isolated as they struggle with the visible and invisible wounds of war. It can be difficult knowing how to overcome that challenge and rekindle bonds similar to those formed in the military. Wounded Warrior Project supports these injured veterans through their recoveries by connecting them with fellow warriors and their communities. No one should fight this battle alone. Join us at woundedwarriorproject.org.
Black Friday may be over, but at the Home Depot, we're just getting warmed up. Right now, get up to 2 free power tools, up to a $318 value when you buy a select power tool kit. Choose from trusted brands like Ryobi, Makita, Milwaukee, Rigid, and DeWalt. If you missed out on Black Friday, don't miss out on this. Get up to 2 free power tools with the purchase of a select power tool kit. Now, at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid through January 23rd while supplies last. Limit 1 redemption per customer. See store for details.
This portion of the National Defense is brought to you by Gorilla Glue, the makers of Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Tape has a tough, reinforced backing and is made with double-thick adhesive that grips to smooth, rough, and uneven surfaces. With a weather-resistant shell, Gorilla Tape can be used both indoors and out, which is perfect for applications in the field, including duck blinds, tree stands, and tent repairs. Gorilla Tape and Gorilla Glue for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
We're standing guard with the truth. The National Defense.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller, and it's time now for a brand new Morgan Stanley Money Brief right here. And back here with Ryan Chernock and Mike Finneran, both financial advisors with Morgan Stanley, and we're talking about retirement planning. Last week, we kind of left on a cliffhanger on employer-sponsored plans. Tell me, why wouldn't I just take money out of each paycheck and put it into my regular bank account or an IRA account?
Randy, it's Mike here. Excellent question. The benefit to participating in the employer plan is that the employee may be eligible to receive essentially free money if the employer offers matching contributions. As long as the employee meets the plan contribution requirements, they can be eligible for the employer's matching.
So, Ryan, what are my limits on how much I can contribute to the employer-sponsored plan?
And Randy, in 2018, the contribution to most types of employer-sponsored plans, including 401ks, 403bs, and 457s and thrift savings plans, is $18,500. And for 2019, the annual limit increases to $19,000. For 2018 and 2019, those employees who are age 50 and older are generally eligible to make additional catch-up contributions to the plan of $6,000. This means that older employees may be able to contribute $24,500 for 2018 and $25,000 for 2019. This is a considerable advantage over the annual contribution for traditional and Roth IRAs, which is limited to $5,500, or if you are 50 or older, $6,500 for 2018 and $6,000, or if you're 50 or older, $7,000 in 2019.
So, Mike, as an employee of a company who offers a plan, do I have choices on the type of plan I want to participate in?
Randy, that's also another great question. Employers can generally choose to offer different types of qualified retirement plans. For instance, an employer can choose to offer 401k type of plan that only allows traditional pre-tax salary reduction contributions, or give the employees the opportunity to choose between pre-tax or after-tax designated Roth accounts. The pre-tax means that money is directly deducted from the employee's paycheck. It is not subject to federal income tax, but is generally subject to Social Security taxes, and is deposited into the plan before federal income tax withholding is taken. The after-tax designated Roth account plan model makes the same elected deduction from the employee's paycheck, but is subject to federal income tax and is generally taken out after taxes have been deducted.
So, Ryan, why would an individual choose the pre-tax plan over an after-tax plan?
Randy, for sure. As we previously discussed in the prior segment, the traditional account, pre-tax, and designated Roth account, after-tax, qualified retirement plan designs each have their pros and cons. The pre-tax plan reduces overall taxable income an employee receives and provides tax-deferred growth potential of that money. The after-tax plan doesn't give you the income tax exclusion, but the trade-off is that you receive tax-free withdrawals when qualified distributions are taken. Regardless of which program you choose, both receive tax-deferred growth potential during the accumulation period. There are several important decisions that a participant must make in connection with choosing between a pre-tax or after-tax option. If both are available, you should discuss this decision with your financial advisor and your tax advisor to help ensure you are making the right decision for your specific situation and getting the most of your company's benefits to you.
Man, thinking about taxes can be tough and often complex, but you guys did a great job summarizing the key considerations for our listeners. Thank you so much. We'll be back here next week with a brand new Morgan Stanley Money Brief right here on the National Defense.
This radio program does not provide individually tailored advice. It has been prepared without regard to the individual financial circumstances and objectives of the persons who receive it. The strategies discussed may not be suitable for all individuals. Morgan Stanley recommends that individuals independently evaluate particular strategies and encourages them to seek the advice of a financial advisor. The appropriateness of a particular strategy will depend on an individual's circumstances and objectives. Tax laws are complex and subject to change. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, Morgan Stanley, its affiliates, and Morgan Stanley Financial Advisors and Private Wealth Advisors do not provide tax or legal advice and are not fiduciaries under ERISA, the Internal Revenue Code, or otherwise, with respect to the services or activities described herein, except as otherwise provided in writing by Morgan Stanley and or as described at www.morganstanley.com/disclosures/DOL. Individuals are encouraged to consult their tax and legal advisors, A, before establishing a retirement plan or account, and B, regarding any potential tax, ERISA, and related consequences of any investments made under such plan or account. Morgan Stanley Smith Barney, LLC, member SIPC. This portion of the National Defense is brought to you by Gorilla Glue, the makers of Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Tape has a tough, reinforced backing and is made with double-thick adhesive that grips to smooth, rough, and uneven surfaces. With the weather-resistant shell, Gorilla Tape can be used both indoors and out, which is perfect for applications in the field, including duck blinds, tree stands, and tent repairs. Gorilla Tape and Gorilla Glue for the toughest jobs on planet Earth. Did you know WD-40 Company has a product to get the trusted WD-40 formula into hard-to-reach places? WD-40 Easy Reach has a permanently attached 8-inch flexible straw that makes it easy to keep equipment working properly by bending around parts and getting into tight spots to lubricate and prevent rust. Pick up a can at Walmart, Home Depot, or AutoZone and learn more about this and other WD-40 brand products at WD-40.com.
Welcome into the National Defense. It's Randy Miller and Jerry Newberry. And Jerry, we got another part of our executive leadership series we're doing.
Man, I'm telling you.
It doesn't get much bigger than this.
No. What a pleasure.
Fred Smith, the founder and CEO of FedEx, is on with us. Fred, how are you?
I'm doing fine. How about you guys?
Good.
Doing great, man. Thank you so much for taking the time today, Fred. It is absolutely an honor to have you on the program. And if we can start off by your military history, you know, it's so great to talk about people who have been in the military and have gone on to do some great things, and you're a prime example of that. But if you can tell us a little bit about your military history, that'd be great.
Well, the first thing I'd suggest is for anybody that's interested in that, Google up what the Marine Corps taught me by Frederick W. Smith, 2008, in the Naval Institute Proceedings. It's a little 2-page article, and basically what I say in that article is that almost everything I use to start and build FedEx, I learned in the Marine Corps and from the military. And it describes briefly my military service. I was in from 1966 to 1970 during the Vietnam War, and most of my time in the Marine Corps was spent on my 2 tours in Vietnam. And I was a platoon leader and a company commander in the 5th Marine Regiment, 3rd Battalion, and then later on I went on and I was AO and a forward air controller in my 2nd tour. And almost all of my time was spent in training or in Vietnam or going to and from Vietnam. So that's my military background.
Speaking your language here, Jerry.
Yep. And I wasn't in the Marine Corps, of course, but I was up in I Corps, and we probably walked some of the same trails.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
Hey,
Fred. I was all over I Corps. I went ashore initially at Chulai and from Okinawa, and then we were all the way up to just north of Hue and all the way west over near the Aishao and down to Antenna Valley and An Hoa and all of that area. So anybody familiar with I Corps will know those names I just spoke.
Yeah,
absolutely. You didn't know Gunner Kent by any chance, did you?
No, I don't. It doesn't pop into my mind, but I have to tell you, at 74, there's a lot that doesn't pop in anymore. So.
Hey, you know, Fred, we were just in D.C. for Veterans Day and actually got to meet a lot of the donut dollies.
Yeah.
We had there's a bunch of them, maybe 60 at a luncheon.
Yeah, at least 60. Yeah.
And those women, you talk about some brave and independent women. That's
for sure.
I was a little bit scared, Fred, because I think I proposed to some of them.
Most of them.
Well, that's definitely possible.
Yeah. Hey, Fred, FedEx as a company, can you give us some idea of the size and the magnitude of FedEx?
Well, FedEx has grown to be a very big company. We employ worldwide about 450,000 people.
Wow.
There are another 50,000 people that are involved in FedEx operations but may be a licensee in one part of the world or another. We serve 220 countries. We operate about 670 airplanes, 180,000 vehicles. We move on a normal day about 14 million shipments in our
Wow.
networks. Of course, in the peak season that we're now entering, it'll be more than double that.
I didn't know there was that many countries in the world.
Yeah, really.
So we go to every country and territory that's not prohibited by the U.S. government, and I think today that's 4 countries. I believe it's North Korea, Syria, Lebanon, and I'm missing one there, maybe Sudan. But but every place else, there's a FedEx there. That's for sure.
That's amazing.
Yeah, we're talking to Fred Smith, the founder CEO of FedEx, here on the National Defense. And Fred, it's also a great story about companies that started back when and that have kept up and evolved and have now gone to the innovations you need to move forward. And you know, a lot of these companies that started back when FedEx did don't exist anymore.
Yeah, what companies?
Exactly. Yeah.
Sure.
But I mean, what have you guys done, and have you kind of kept up and even moved forward with all the advancements?
And didn't deregulation have something to do with the with a lot of the freight companies going by the wayside?
Yeah, sure. The deregulation of transportation, which we were right in the middle of in the early and mid-1970s, was a very important development most people don't know anything about. But from 77 through 1994, the Congress passed legislation that got the federal government out of the pricing and rates and routes of rail carriers, truckload carriers, air carriers. And when that started, logistics costs were about 16 cents out of every dollar in the U.S. economy, and now it's about 9 cents.
Wow.
So without this deregulation, you wouldn't have FedEx, you wouldn't have Walmart, you wouldn't have Target, you wouldn't have Swift Knight, big truckload carrier, J.B. Hunt, Amazon. None of those companies would exist absent deregulation, and we were right in the middle of all of those legislative fights. And then the same thing happened internationally in aviation beginning in the mid-1990s, and that's why you can basically get on a plane and fly within 24 hours to any point in the globe, as the governments in the main got out of regulating air transportation and let the market decide.
So how did FedEx come out, let's say on top? Because it had to be a melee with all those companies trying to position themselves.
Well, we actually had a unique concept. The problem was the regulatory regime didn't anticipate what we wanted to do. It was essentially a system set up for the regulation of passenger air transportation, and you had to have a license from the government to do it. The problem was the government hadn't issued any new licenses since the mid-1930s. So it really was a convergence of a number of interests where the Democrats and the Republicans came together, and the airlines recognized that they would be better off in a free market environment where they could fly when and where they wanted to and charge what they needed to charge and be able to discount for night flights or last flight, or today, charging you for bags or giving you a low-cost ticket. And so when the regulatory regime changed, first for air cargo and then for passenger airlines the next year, all sorts of good things happened, including FedEx's concept of having an air-ground, door-to-door delivery system was permitted, where prior to that deregulation, we would have never been able to do that. We could have never gotten the license to do it. So it was hugely important to us.
Man, it's a great story. And, that story is still continuing, because you got to feel like, especially now, it's a different world since Amazon, and all these different dynamics have changed. What do you guys do to keep up with all of that?
Well, when I wrote the original manager's guide for FedEx, again, which was largely taken from what the Marine Corps taught me. One of the first things that I said in that little booklet was the inevitability of change. In fact, I quoted Marcus Aurelius, who was a guy that, was lived 2,000 years ago. He was a philosopher king, and we think 2,000 years ago was pretty stable compared to our age. And right. Marcus Aurelius is talking about the only thing constant in life is change.
Yeah.
So we have, from the start, made sure that everybody in our outfit, so to speak, understands that if you don't change, you are going to become extinct. And we've just worked that issue over the years. We expanded first internationally, then we expanded into the ground parcel business, then we expanded into the freight business and so forth. But it's all built around that inevitability and that necessity of constantly changing to meet the world as it evolves. And an integral part of that, and perhaps maybe the biggest part of it, is to make sure that you are technically adept. You have to have great technology to run large, complex organizations today, and we were a real leader in that. We invented at FedEx the ability to track and trace a package. Everybody takes that for granted today, right. But when we started, the way the shipping industry worked is you gave your package or your pallet to somebody and you hope it came out on the other end sometime.
Right. Yeah.
But we invented the ability to track and trace the package, and eventually we migrated that into people's shipping rooms and then into their personal computers, and of course now onto your mobile telephone, where we send you a notice and tell you that the package is going to be there between 1 and 3 o'clock, and if you need to divert it to Walgreens, where you can pick up a FedEx package or a FedEx office, we'll do that for you too. So I think you've got to be willing to change and recognize that change is inevitable, and you've got to use technology to make sure that you have the most efficient and customer-friendly operations possible. That's been the key.
So FedEx has been on the cutting edge since you started the company. Is there anything we can anticipate seeing in the somewhat near future, technology-wise, it's new and exciting?
Well, I think you'll see some new and exciting technology, but if I told you what it was, I mean, I'd have to come over there and drop a hand grenade in the booth there, because all our competitors would know that.
Well, geez, now I can't go by.
Well, now wait a second, now, Fred. Would the hand grenade be dropped by drone?
No, it could be.
Okay, all right.
You might have seen where FedEx was just authorized by the DOT as one of, I can't remember how many locations and companies they permitted to do it, but we have some extensive drone operations here in Memphis doing all kinds of interesting things. We're running drones down the runway to check for foreign object damage, or FOD as it's called in the aviation business. We're using drones to go way up top on our tails of our 777 airplanes, where it used to take a mechanic, and not without risk, get up on this scaffolding to look for defects and things of that nature. We have drone activities underway with our 208 airplanes, our little single-engine airplanes that fly into the outback. All kinds of things going on in terms of automation and drones, vehicle and aircraft.
Well, I told Randy the other day, I'm really looking forward to the day when I'm getting my pizzas delivered by drone, so I don't have to tip.
Wow.
Man, you're a great man.
Man.
It's a great company with great employees. And I just want to say one thing. Welcome home, Marine.
Well, thank you very much. As I said in that little article I started off with, that you can look it up on Google, I'm unabashedly grateful to the U.S. Marine Corps and for teaching me what they taught me. I can't say all my experiences were pleasant, but the training and the leadership instruction and the Marine Corps, along with a lot of the U.S. military's units, are such outstanding organizations. I've always been grateful and tried to be loyal and help them any way I can.
What was the name of your drill instructor?
Sergeant Jensen, Staff Sergeant Jensen. I still remember that.
Hey,
you never forget your DI.
Right. Hey, Fred, I'm such a fan of FedEx now. Jerry, I think we need to broadcast a show from a lot of the FedEx Cup events, the golf tournaments.
Well, yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
If you guys want to go, you're welcome to it. I'll get you in there. After that, you're on your own. I don't play golf. I play tennis. You have to be way too calm to play that doggone game.
Hey, Fred, thank you so much for the time. I know you
Thanks a lot. And listen, let me say thank you to all of your listeners on this. We appreciate your service and for keeping us all safe and for the role that you play around the world. I was in Asia last week, all over the place, and I thought about that all the time, all those service members that are out there in the Pacific, making the world safe. So we all appreciate you very much.
I know you don't give many interviews, and just want to thank you so much for the
Fred.
time.
Appreciate it.
Well, it's a special audience.
Thank you so much.
Glad to talk to you guys.
Fred Smith, founder CEO of FedEx. Love to have you back.
Thanks a lot. We'll do that.
All right. Thank you, Fred.
Bye-bye.
We'll be right back with the National Defense right after this word from Farmers Insurance. When you're dealing with life's ups and downs, it helps to know the ins and outs of insurance. Farmers Insurance has been sharing practical insurance knowledge for more than 89 years. At Farmers, we know a thing or two because we've seen a thing or two. Find an agent at farmers.com.
We are farmers. Bum, 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 bum.
How do you thank the millions of men and women who have fought so bravely for our country over the years? At the Home Depot, we think it takes more than words. We believe the best way to show gratitude is to do gratitude. The Home Depot Foundation is committed to veterans and their families, improving their homes and their lives. Since 2011, we've invested $160 million to veteran causes and impacted over 26,000 veteran homes. By 2020, we'll grow that investment to $250 million. From simple wheelchair ramps to complete home makeovers, transitional housing, community support, we consider it a duty and a privilege to serve senior, wounded, and homeless veterans the best ways we know how. After all they've given us, it's the least we could do. $250 million by 2020. Doing more for veterans. Doing gratitude. The Home Depot. More saving. More doing.
Did you know WD-40 Company offers more than just a blue and yellow can? There's a line of high-performance WD-40 brand products developed for professionals that include degreasers, penetrants, and greases. The WD-40 Specialist Greases line includes a multi-purpose grease, a high-temperature grease, an extreme pressure grease, and a marine-grade water-resistant grease. The products are interchangeable with each other so they won't cause cross-contamination issues that compromise performance and effectiveness. Pick up a can at Home Depot and learn more about these and other WD-40 brand products at WD-40Specialist.com.
It's been called shell shock, war neurosis, and battle fatigue. Today, we call it post-traumatic stress disorder, and it affects 1 out of every 5 warriors returning from battle in Iraq and Afghanistan. The Wounded Warrior Project offers comfort and support for warriors with PTSD and all other scars of war, whether those scars are visible or hidden. Find out how to help, because for warriors, the greatest casualty is being forgotten. Please visit woundedwarriorproject.org.
We're standing guard with the truth. The National Defense.
Welcome back to the National Defense. It's Randy Miller. Time now for another Eye Insights with VSP Vision. And Dr. Josh Baker is back with us to talk about something else that, all of these topics in the past few weeks have been so key to maintaining that good eye health. And now you're going to talk about retinal screenings. I've heard of these. What exactly is that?
So retinal screening really could take a lot of different forms. It could be really a comprehensive assessment of the health of the back part of your eye, where your eyes are dilated and a eye care provider is taking a look in the back. Or it could be something as simple as a photo that is taken and then sent to a specialist to be viewed. All of those are potential screenings. We always recommend the best way to ensure you don't have ocular health concerns in the back part of your eye, though, is to get a comprehensive eye exam.
Yeah, and it's amazing some of the things that can be found with these, and I know that from a recent visit that I had, even like diabetes and things like that. What is the first sign of diabetic retinopathy?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to talk about diabetic retinopathy. Diabetic retinopathy is the number one cause of blindness in the United States, and It's not something we always associate with blindness, but it's critical that if you have diabetes, you're being screened. When we're evaluating a diabetic patient, one of the first signs we'll have of changes in the back part of the eye might just be a small, little, tiny hemorrhage, sometimes no bigger than what appears to be the tip of a pin in the retina, or a small outpouching of the retinal capillary, something we call a microaneurysm. These are small, tiny little findings. They're oftentimes very difficult to see. But even seeing one singular hemorrhage, one singular microaneurysm, can be enough to indicate that the patient's blood sugar is not controlled tightly enough.
Wow. And you get that with your eye doctor. Can retinopathy be cured?
Cured might be a strong term. Diabetic retinopathy can be managed, most importantly, by very careful management of the patient's blood sugar. A regimented, healthy diet, routine visits with their primary care provider, as well as regular retinal exams to monitor closely for any changes. Sometimes those retinal exams will occur maybe once every year, or sometimes they need to occur as often as once every 3 months, just depending on the level of control that diabetic patient has.
Man, some amazing things that you can find out from your eye visit. It's some great information and some great coverage that listeners can look forward to coming soon. Can you talk about your exciting news?
VSP is currently a vision carrier for hundreds of thousands through the Federal Dental and Vision Insurance Program, more commonly known as FedVIP. And now great news for military families and retirees. You'll be able to enroll in vision care coverage during federal benefit open season, which is November 12th through December 10th. Once enrolled, coverage will begin in January 2019. To do this, just visit choosevsp.com/TRICARE for more information.
So all they have to do is visit choosevsp.com/TRICARE for more information. Dr. Baker, thank you so much. We'll be back here next week with a brand new edition of Eye Insights with VSP Vision right here on the National.
This portion of the National Defense is brought to you by Gorilla Glue, the makers of Gorilla Tape. Gorilla Tape has a tough, reinforced backing and is made with double-thick adhesive that grips to smooth, rough, and uneven surfaces. With a weather-resistant shell, Gorilla Tape can be used both indoors and out, which is perfect for applications in the field, including duck blinds, tree stands, and tent repairs. Gorilla Tape and Gorilla Glue for the toughest jobs on planet Earth.
Welcome to F-150 Radio, the new 2018 Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar. Dean, go.
I'm all about lowering the bar, like I only brush my teeth on Monday.
The new Ford F-150 lineup raises the bar by being number one in towing, payload, and torque. It can make you more capable.
Capable, schmapable.
The new 2018 Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar.
When properly configured, classes full-size pickups under 8,500 pounds GVW are based on Ford segmentation.
It's time to find the one, the perfect Christmas tree. And you do that at the Home Depot, where you'll be surrounded by a wonder-inducing selection of fresh-cut trees and greenery. You'll find the one, and then the Home Depot will net it and load it in your car for you. Or, if you want one brought to your door, you can order your live tree online and it will be delivered free. Fresh-cut trees and greenery. This is how we owe Christmas tree. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Continental U.S. only. Selection and prices vary by store. See store for details.
We're standing guard with the truth. The National Defense.
We will never fully understand what we've asked of our military service members or their families, asking them to put themselves in harm's way, to endure it all. But we do understand that it's our turn, our duty, to keep them secure for the rest of their lives. Wounded Warrior Project long-term support programs help our most severely ill or injured veterans live independently, at no cost, for life, so that they might stand at ease. Join us at findwwp.org.
All right, F-150 Radio. Today, the new 2018 Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar. Eugene.
Hey, I got a store that sells exclusively bar-raising merchandise, like a calendar with an extra month.
An extra month?
Extrebuary. It has 32 days.
Well, the new 2018 F-150 raises the bar with auto start-stop standard on all engines and an available 10-speed transmission.
How about tissues that blow your nose for you?
The new 2018 Ford F-150. It doesn't just raise the bar, it is the bar.